This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, a weekly recap of your Philadelphia Flyers from blue line to blue line. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Han & Stone Spa, Pat Dion Beverages, The Capitol Grill, Chickies and Pete's, Payroll Service Solutions, and Independence Blue Cross. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Now, here are your hosts, former Flyer Brad Marsh and Paul Jolovitz.
Welcome to On the Ice from here, Chickies and Pete's, beautiful Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill, presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Paul Jolovitz, along with not Brad Marsh, but some guy named Bernie Perron who used to play goalie for the Flyers. Our guest, Riley Cote, will be here in a second. How you doing?
Well, I think Brad Marsh has never looked so good.
I've never looked so good, choking to death here, but we'll be all right. Brad Marsh is here every other week. You're here every other week, and we obviously got him screwed up. But before we get to Riley, Bernie, and before we get to the Flyers who are playing very well and all the specials and things we have to give out tonight, you threw out the first pitch at the World Series, one of the World Series Game 3, with Mike Schmidt from the Phillies, Brandon Graham from the Eagles, and Julius Erving, and he's from the 2008 Phillies. How exciting was that? Tell us about it.
Well, you know what? Do you have a half hour?
We do have a half hour, yeah.
You know what? First of all, think about this: being at the game, the World Series. You know what I'm saying? It's just incredible, and then to go in the field and with those guys, four of us, and throwing the first ball is just something. It's a dream, that came true. Because
did you worry about throwing it into the ground?
Oh no!
You said you threw a curveball, huh?
I did it on purpose. I hit the ground, but hit the catcher too at the same time. So.
Now, who was your catcher? It was Chase, Cole, Ryan, and Jimmy. Was that or Jason?
Jason Worth, yeah.
And he caught you.
Yeah.
Did you go over with him before your repertoire of how hard to be coming in and everything like that?
I told him, give me a number one, so that's a fastball.
Number one, and it worked out. And now we're talking about the Flyers. You hear Riley Cote again, our guest. We'll be here in a second. Tons of traffic down here on Baltimore Pike and Drexel. You kind of got caught up in the traffic a little bit too, huh?
Oh, yeah, we left at noon. Yeah, we just got here. Yeah.
But you were in Malaysia, right? A lot of stuff going right with the Flyers, Bernie. World Series over. Philly fans are getting their mojo back. Eagles undefeated, obviously. Sixers started their season. Joel Embiid said the other night. Meanwhile, the Flyers are 7-3-2 under John Tortorella. Their goaltender, Carter Hart, is the main reason for that. As 5-on-5, their metrics say they're not playing that well, but their goaltender's saving them. 6-0-2 on the season. Felix Sandstrom got his first win last night. We'll be talking about that. That's what a goalie can do in hockey, isn't it? A team can play not that well and get saved by the goaltender.
Well, you don't want this to happen the whole year.
No,
but,
it's not going to happen the whole year.
For the time being, it's incredible. And you know what it does? When the winning streak like this is, it builds a bond between the goalies, the defensemen, the forwards. And then you start trusting each other, and then eventually things turn around, and you know what, the coach, I can't say enough good things about him. What he's a great coach, very strict. If you go on the ice and you're not performing, he'll sit you on the bench, and it won't take long to do that. So we expect 100%, and when you step on the ice, it really makes a big difference. He's a good coach.
Not just a great coach, Bernie, but, you played, I didn't, but there are great coaches who don't fit the teams they coach. If you got a guy who coaches high-octane offense on a team that stresses defense and has slow forwards that hit and grind, that may not work. But John Tortorella, he fits this city and a city's image of what a coach should be, but he fits this team. He knows his sport. This isn't just glossed over, and it's going to wind up, the Cinderella's going to lose everything after 2 weeks. He's a tremendous coach in a town that needs him, for a team that wants him. It seems like a perfect marriage to me.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. He's a great individual, and I met him quite a few times. Great individual. And But going back to hockey, he knows the game. He knows the game well, and he knows what to expect from each individual. But at the same time, you win as a team. So remember this, and he brings the players together. Makes them understand that you can win on your own. You have to win as a team. Very important.
And he understands, obviously, everything about his team, wants to give the young kids a chance, has talked about that. Beat the Blues last night easily. Blues are slumping under Craig Berube after a win in Ottawa. Now he goes back to Columbus, where he coached for 6 years. Should be an interesting night for him tomorrow. See what kind of reception he gets from the fans. But going back to the young guys, Bernie, he has a lot of young defensemen and young forwards, and has, scratched guys for a period, for a game. Ruotsalainen, Hayes, Konechny. If you don't play the way he wants you to, he'll sit you down or scratch you. He gave Ruotsalainen another chance. There's a lot of young guys he wants to bring up. If you're a veteran on this team, you better bring it and bring it now, right?
Yeah, of course. And again, going back a little bit of what I said earlier, he's teaching the kids, he's teaching them to become part of a team, to perform at 100% on the ice as an individual, but also never forget you're part of the team. It's very important, and he brings that up. And you know what? And when you look at Hart, in goal, communication also is very important with him, with the defenseman. So I like him. He's a great coach, and I think we're going to have a lot of excitement this year with him.
Honest question for you, Bernard Marcel Perron. I like the fact that you're my co-host, a goaltender. When you're playing a game, it could be a 5-game stretch in the middle of the season. It could be one night. Flyers have played better the last couple of games. They got outshot like crazy a bunch of games in a row, and Carter Hart simply saved the team standing on his head. When you're playing, obviously, goalies say they like a lot of shots, you like a lot of work. But when you know your team is getting grossly outplayed and you're saving them, do you obviously you think different things, different games, but do you ever get angry at the rest of the team, say, if you guys were playing half as well as I would we be going somewhere? Do you feel great that you're doing this? How do you feel normally in a game where you're clearly the difference?
No, I think the way you approach this, as a goalie, is communication. It's very important. You could be a goalie and playing goal and not saying anything.
Right.
And, the same problems will keep coming back, the same problems. You learn to communicate, a lot more with your defensemen, with the forwards once in a while, but mostly your defensemen, because, look, as a goalie, you see the whole front. You see what's going on in front of you because you're facing it. Defensemen, you have to focus where the puck is, right? If it's in a corner, then you have your back to.
Our guest just got in. Thank you.
How are you, my friend? You're looking great.
Keep your thought going, though, bro.
Yeah. So you have, what? So you see what's developing in front. And you have to, this is why communication is so important, because you have to remind your defenseman, and you have to be loud, Look behind you. Somebody's open or whatever. And you help your defenseman to make the adjustment, and it really helps the team.
All right, we have our guest who just got in. Bernie was just talking about playing goaltender Riley on a team that's not playing well when you're saving the day, as Carter Hart has thus far. Was sick last night. We'll get to that. Our guest, folks, is one of my absolute favorite guests on any show I do. He's a wonderful guy. He's always accommodating. He's a businessman. He started his own business, a couple of them. We'll talk about that. He used to coach. Meanwhile, he was a goon in the NHL. Goons are people, too, and they can go on to productive careers and wonderful things. I wasn't in the NHL. I would have taken any role possible. Welcome, folks, former Flyer, former coach of the Phantoms, and businessman extraordinaire, Riley Cote.
Yeah.
How you doing,
Thanks for having me. Doing well.
Thanks so much for coming, Riley. Bert and I were talking for a few minutes about the Flyers getting outshot 5-on-5. Carter Hart standing on his head. Obviously, the goalie can play well and the rest of the team can stink, or vice versa, or any combination thereof. When you're with a team and you know that you're playing poorly and somebody else is saving you, or you're playing great and you're getting destroyed by somebody else on your own team, how do you feel normally?
Yeah, it's a tough one, It's just one of those times where you just have to, just to stay with the process and keep keep going and keep playing and performing as best as you can.
Stay as a team, right?
Stay as a team, yeah. I mean, the worst thing you can do is start blaming and pointing fingers and throwing your hands up. So, yeah, Carter Hart certainly bailed them out a few times, and it's just I think that's teams finding ways to win games. I mean, good teams do that, and certainly they've laid down the foundation, have created some sort of identity this year. I think they're bringing back some sort of culture to the city and to the Flyers uniform. So, it's one of those things. Thank God that he's played the way he has in some of these games that they haven't performed overly well, but it's the way it goes sometimes.
All right, we'll start with the fill in the blank for you. John Tortorella, I already asked Bernie this question, not quite in the same way, but John Tortorella's coaching has meant blank to the Flyers this year. Fill that in for me if you could.
Well, I think that John Tortorella's has filled a huge void. I mean, I think he's exactly what the Flyers needed. Again, very, very disciplined, very structured. Obviously demands hard work, as most coaches do. I don't know a coach that doesn't, but I think he's had success in the past building that foundation for teams and not deviating from it. He's got the structure. He knows what he wants, and I think the Flyers have bought into the program.
Yeah, of course. I think Paul would have a problem playing for him.
I think so, yeah.
He'd have a problem if I played for him. Yeah.
But you know what? I shared earlier, too, that he brings that togetherness, but at the same time, if you're lazy on the ice a little bit, he's going to let you know. Mm-hmm. And if you keep doing it, you're going to sit on that bench.
100%.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He doesn't let you know by saying you're lazy in the post-game presser. He'll sit your ass right down right there. He'll scratch you like he did Ruotsalainen.
Yep.
He'll Hayes and Konechny.
Yep.
There's accountability all the time, Riley. You can score 8 goals in a game. I'm obviously making a ridiculous point to make a point, but score 8 goals and have a bad shift, you can find yourself on the bench for a period. What does that do to a player to know that you can never let off? I'm not talking about never, but virtually never let off the gas.
Well, yeah, I mean, it keeps guys honest, right? I mean, and he's not the only coach that does this, right? I think keeping guys in line through accountability by limiting minutes is always the way coaches send messages. But I think, Torts' delivery is maybe more obvious, or maybe just means more to some of these guys that are new to this type of coaching and accountability. But as a player, I mean, you get the message, right? I mean, you're not playing, you're sitting there, you said Konechny and Hayes, 20 minutes in the third period. Yep. Probably could have used their services there to maybe potentially score a goal, but I think the long-term play, the long-term message there is if you're not going to play and you're not going to dig in, you're just not going to play.
That's a great point, the long-term message. He's making an immediate point for 10, 20, 30, 40 games down the road to see who really belongs here. Before we take our first break, I've got to bring up something a little more lighthearted, Riley. Our waitress tonight, who's fantastic, Chickies and Pizza in Drexel Hill, is tremendous. Love coming here. Julia, our waitress tonight, is amazing. Julia's real name is Julie, and her nickname's Julia. And I told her, Julie, that's not a nickname. Just like you're Riles and Riley, that's not a nickname. Hockey has some of the worst nicknames on modern earth. Wayne Simmons, Simmer. You can't drop the last letter and add a letter. That's not a nickname. Chris Terry and Bundy, that's a nickname. Do you ever get embarrassed that your name is Riley and your nickname's Riles? Because it's ridiculous.
I never really thought about it as that bad of a nickname, but
it's not a nickname. It's not a bad nickname. It's just not a nickname.
Hey,
right?
I think it's good. How about you? What kind of a nickname do you have?
Jolovitz, Jolly. I'm not a huge fan of it, but everybody calls me that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just who I am in life. But I like names that change the name.
Yeah.
Bernie's Benny. That's another ridiculous nickname. It's the same length as your name, and you change one letter. Don't hockey people have imagination, guys?
Apparently not.
When I was younger,
being lazy.
When I was younger, you used to call me Honey.
There we are. Well, we're going to go on having all kinds of fun with Riley Cote. Talk to him about what he's doing these days. Talk to Bernie about, obviously, the Flyers. You're listening on the ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, live from Chicks and Pete's, right here at 1490 WBCB. It's time now for our Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Player of the Week. Each week we award a player with this honor, and this week it's Felix Sandstrom, goaltender who got his first NHL win last night. Carter Hart sick. Felix Sandstrom went in, showed the depth the Flyers have. got his first NHL win. Remember to choose Independence Blue Cross today and begin to live fearless like Felix Sandstrom did last night. We're back with On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross from beautiful Chickens and Pete's in Drexel Hill. Right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we know Saturdays in the fall are special. Why? College football. And we have you covered with food and drink specials and the best in-game experience to watch your team or the college football game of the week. Come watch Penn State, Temple, Villanova, Notre Dame, Texas, Michigan, Georgia, and more. College football Saturdays are special at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer goaltending great Bernie Perrant.
And welcome back to Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill On the Ice. We're here next week as well with former Flyer defenseman Joe Watson, a cohort of Mr. Perrant's on the Broad Street Bullies. It's time now for the Smart Stat of the Week, brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That is 1-866-PAY-EASY. No analytics, no complicated stats about so-and-so getting 28 shots on a cloudy day in Memphis with a guy named Ron as your goaltender. Simple stat. Flyers after 12 games, 7-3-2. Did any expect that? No. And they played much better the last couple of games, fighting in the Metropolitan Division, and that's a wonderful stat to have. Hopefully it'll continue. That was your Flyer Smart Stat of the Week, again brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions, catering to the small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY. Here with Bernie Perrant and Riley Cote. John Tortorella has been lauded, I guess, for his systems, guys, so much. And his systems involve toughness. They involve working hard every shift, but they involve a key word that, Bernie, you brought up before a lot, and Riley, I'm sure you second this, but I'll let you say that yourself. The word is belief. He says if you don't believe in yourselves, nobody else is going to believe in you. How does that factor into a hockey team? Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I mean it's great advice. I mean that's what I say to my children. It's if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you. And yeah, I mean, it's a great philosophy. And
have you ever benched him for a period?
have I ever been? Yeah, they've been benched for a few periods. But yeah, you know what? I think he just commands respect, and he's done this before. He's taken teams that are kind of broken and brought them together. And believing in yourself as an individual, but believing yourself as a collective is another story as well. But I think he's done a fine job at laying down that foundation. Getting the most out of the players. You're seeing guys like Konechny and some of these guys coming back to themselves and finding their game. I think he's done a great job of just help cultivate that identity that I feel like has been missed at least last year. Kind of. Not saying rebranding the Flyers, but adding that element of toughness and and that glue that we're seeing. A couple tilts last night. Not that it's about that anymore, but again, they're really doing a good job at showing that they're coming together as a team and really again cultivating that identity that's been missing.
Bernie, did you ever play a team that you knew was very good but didn't believe in itself for whatever reason, or a team that wasn't very good that did? What kind of difference does it make?
Well, you know what? They when you win the game, it's because they didn't play that well. No, but it's very difficult, and like it was said earlier, what he brings, what the coach brings on this team. He has a lot of young players. Mm-hmm. Okay, and what he brings on this team is that togetherness, and there's. You know what? If you want to win, it can't be a bunch of individuals because you'll never win. But as a team, you could beat anybody.
Yep.
And this is what he brings. So and by sitting players out once in a while, it's a reminder that hey, you're part of a team, and you have to show up. You have to give 100%.
That's all life's
about.
Yep.
Very important.
Listen, I've mentioned this before on this show many times. My favorite cliche line in the world is the John Wooden line, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And that I think is what John Tortorella, I mean, everybody believes in that, but John Tortorella really exhibits belief in that. And failing can be for multiple reasons. One of them is due to injuries. Flyers had a ton of injuries, guys, for a team that barely out of the gate, 12 games into the season. Sean Couturier hasn't played a face-off yet with a back surgery, second one. Ryan Ellis, that pelvic injury, going to miss 2 years now. Cam Atkinson, who was with Tortorella in Columbus, hasn't played yet. JVR broke his finger. Riley, they're doing this without a lot of guys who are key to this team and key elements. And you welcome to answer that, but I don't want to lead on what you're doing with that, with injuries. You're doing a lot of stuff for people that are banged up or hurt in some way. I know your sister had multiple sclerosis. You did a ton for that and research and promoting this or that on MS, which is terrific. With concussions. You've worked with hemp. You've worked with marijuana. Tell us what you're doing and basically the over-enveloping thing about helping people and what you're using to do that.
Yeah, sure. Before I get into that, I'll just mention, I mean, it's nice to see the Flyers scoring as a collective. I think they have the third least amount of goals for, but they're finding ways to win games.
Carter Hart.
Yeah, Carter Hart. But, they're squeezing in enough goals to win these games. But obviously, adding those guys back in the lineup would be super helpful to, add a couple goals here and there to maybe to help win more games. But, yeah, I'm in the alternative health space. Cannabis, mushrooms, yoga, and it's all integrated. But it's all about regeneration and recovery. And all athletes and all humans do this. Whether they know it or not. Right? It's all about promoting a better night's sleep, resting the body. Calming the nervous system, removing inflammation, managing stress. Right? So there's different tools. That are not mainstreamed yet. That help do this. So, I've been fortunate enough to have been able to help my own personal wellness journey with these tools, my own concussion-related issues that I was dealing with back in 2010, and have had amazing results. So I've been blessed and fortunate enough to being able to help others along the way.
What kind of businesses? I know you have a couple businesses. You're welcome to pump them up as much as you like.
Yeah, so I got a cannabis business, both on the recreational medical side as well as the hemp-derived CBD side, and then I'm also in a psychedelic space with the psilocybin mushrooms. So we're legally doing that in Jamaica, cultivating and doing these retreats, and some amazing and profoundly amazing transformations. Mental health, concussion-related issues, PTSD, you name it. So I've had a couple of my teammates involved. Steve Downey was one of their most recent ones, actually recording a ESPN E60 documentary around this whole thing. So that'll be aired in February, and just trying to be a ripple in the movement.
Bernie, when you played, I mean, you would get a concussion if you did get hit in the mask, 185-mile-an-hour slap shot. You said, I got my bell wrong, and it didn't seem like it was just the way the area you played in. People didn't pay attention as much to injuries. They'd write them off. Yoga, cannabis, all this psychedelic stuff, that was 21st century stuff that nobody believed in. How different was it when you played, dealing with injuries and dealing with illness, dealing with any kind of infirmity, and now, what do you think?
Well, it's a big difference, and big difference. You didn't approach the injury like you do today, and you're talking about 120 miles an hour. I remember Bobby Hall, my first game for Chicago, right? I was playing, came up with the Bruins, and our first game was against Chicago.
Yep.
And, I see this big guy with big shoulders, curved blade, and smiling at me, right? And I said...
Why was he smiling?
Because he fell...
On the ice?
On the ice, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it would come down across the blue line, and somehow a defense would spread out a little bit, 120 miles an hour. Nobody's ever done that since he's done that, and he would shoot, right? And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I didn't know what to do. Sometimes I would say, well, maybe move away from the net, give him the whole net, let him score or something. But I remember one time he missed me, hit the glass behind me, 120 miles an hour, and at the other end, then Hull had to make the save. So it's just incredible. But with injuries in those days is. I think it's more of a I'm fine, I'm great, and you have the trainers to help you, the doctors, but it's a mental approach.
It is.
But that could have hurt you with concussions, thinking I'm fine, go back on the ice, miss a shift. You're a hockey player, you don't want to be off the ice. I mean, that could hurt you. Anybody that has head problems and head trauma long term because maybe they didn't treat concussions the right way?
Yeah, but I think there was just a lack of awareness and resources back then, right? I mean, we're living in this age of information, or say ignorance is a choice, right? I mean, the information is now out there. It's just a matter of believing in it, right? Back in the day, I think most guys self-medicated with alcohol. It was just the way it was,
Yep.
And there was no focus on recovery and regeneration and promoting good night's rest. It was just like tough it out and show up and work and battle, right? But now there's so much money spent on strength and conditioning, recovery. These guys spend a ton of money. There's a major emphasis from strength and conditioning coaches and the medical staff to be rested and being able to perform the next day of practice or a game. So naturally, these alternatives seem to find a legitimate way into the locker room. We talk about CBD, different type of cannabis-based products for recovery, and outside of the locker room. The guys are, probably less alcohol, more cannabis. Honestly, the way the generations changed, yoga guys are using, an ancient philosophy like yoga to. It's not, it's beyond the physical exercise and flexibility. It's just about regeneration and recovery. It's just having the body feel better so we can perform better.
We're going to talk about what John Tortorella asked the player to do for a second, to kind of leverage on that. This is going to sound like a joke, Riley, but dead serious with this question. Cannabis is something that's been controversial in our country, obviously, for a lot of reasons, for a lot of uses. I'm sure when you started, people would laugh at you about this. People would laugh at a lot of things. It suddenly became serious to people. They're going to help people. You can think of a million things in society that's happened with. How was that when you started up? You were a freak doing something illegal, and now you're helping people. How's that evolution made you feel inside and alerted the world about the benefits of cannabis in your case?
Well, going back to what we said earlier, if you don't believe in yourself, who will, right? I mean, I believe in this long before a lot of people did, right? And I was convinced that it worked, right? I mean, it worked for me. I've seen it worked for a lot of my colleagues and people in my network. But the reality is the science has always been there. I mean, cannabis was always medicine. It's never not been medicine, right? We just, politics squeezed it out and unfortunately rolled out this world of synthetic heroin, opioids, right? We have an opioid crisis. And to me, the root cause of that opioid crisis is because of cannabis prohibition. When you outlaw a pain management tool like cannabis and you start pushing heroin through the medical system and on the streets, well, you look at the crises we have here. So it's very deep and dark. But this is not new information. It's not just like we all of a sudden discovered it was a medicinal plant. It's always been. It was the number one ingredient in the U.S. pharmacopoeia for over 100 years. So the history of cannabis goes way back. As long as humans have been around, we've co-evolved with this plant. So, once you start digging in, cannabis prohibition, start understanding the science and the history. You become a believer. It's not hard to believe in. It's just now you just have to generate thick skin and just deal with adversity and people, calling you, a pothead or whatever they want to throw at you. But the reality is like we're speaking for the trees and we're trying to increase quality of life for all people. It's about drug diversion and harm reduction. This is not. This is not me just, talking about, burning herb all around here. This is a very medicinal plant and it needs to be respected and it needs to be used with intention and mindfulness.
Very well said, Riley. And then when we come back, we're going to kind of leverage off that. We're going to start it off with Bobby Hall coming down the left wing for Chicago. The defenseman kind of moves to the left.
Can we talk about something else?
We can.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm going to put it in a way, Bernie, that's going to involve Riley in the conversation.
Look, it's not affecting me. Look.
Bobby Hall winds up, and we'll talk about it after the break. This is the Independence Blue Cross on the ice. From Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. A lot of nice people here. Come on up. Say hi to Riley and Bernie. We're back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Dine in for these amazing fall specials. Wednesday is crab night. 2 pounds of snow crab legs, $49.99. Or mix it up with 2 pounds of snow crab legs and 4 hard shells for $79.99. Thursdays are for the birds. Whatever the Eagles score on Sunday, you get to save on wings at Chicky and Pete's on Thursday. Plus, limited time fall specials, including bomb pork belly tacos and the garlic truffle burger. Wash it down with our pear elderflower mule or apple cider old fashioned. Chickies and Pete's.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer goaltending great Bernie Perrant.
All righty, we were just on the cannabis thing and injuries in hockey. And Riley, that brings to point something that was in the news today. You're a very intelligent guy, very thoughtful guy. Bernie, you can chime in on this as well. Brittany Griner is a basketball player, a college All-American, many-time WNBA All-Pro who's detained in Russia. Unless you've lived under a rock the last 6 months, you know about her situation. She took some cannabis tubes into the Russian airport, got 9 years in prison. Most people think that's ridiculous. She said she made a mistake, but not this level. Today she was moved, apparently, Riley, to a prison somewhere in the middle of Russia. The whole thing, she admits she made a mistake, but she's being used as a political pawn. Obviously, there'll be some trade at some point. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, my heart goes out to her. You know, anybody that's incarcerated for this plant on the planet, you know, it's unfair. But the reality is it's still a Schedule I drug in this country, and there's still people locked away, you know, essentially for life in this country. So, you know, her situation is unique. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously, I don't agree with the laws, but I mean, she made a mistake, and she unfortunately made a really, really serious mistake. You know, bringing cannabis into not just any country, you bring it to Russia, you know, and it lands up being a political thing here now. But the reality is there's still people in this country locked away for say, life and long periods of time for this same plant, right? And, you know, we have a lot of work to do around cannabis reform, not just nationally, but internationally. You know, at the end of the day, we're talking about a plant. So it's unfortunate. You know, my heart goes out to her and her family because it can't be easy dealing with that. And I don't see any end in sight with what she's dealing with now.
Well, hopefully we make a trade and it's done with.
Right.
Interesting stuff. I'm going to ask you guys both a question that involves both of you. Bobby Hull, we talked about during the break, comes down the left wing. John Tortorella demands that every Flyer block shots. Defensemen have to block shots. Forwards have to play their wing or center and block shots. Nobody wants to block a shot. Bernie talks about being a goaltender with all the pads on and having the puck coming at you over 100 miles an hour. It's vulcanized rubber and it hurts. Blocking a shot with less equipment on, you don't know where it can hit you. You can hit you in the head like Lappy got hit a couple times. So the guy comes down the left wing, and a guy like Riley, who may be playing his wing defense, Bernie, you're in the net. Riley can drop down to block the shot, which is what the coach wants. He can also, by dropping down, obscure your vision, making it, you know, total happenstance whether the shot hits you or not. Riley, how difficult is that decision? Both the balls, to be blunt about it, to be able to block a shot. You may screen the goalie. How do you decide what to do on that? And with Tortorella really pushing it, how much of a necessity is it to do that?
Yeah, you know what, I think just instinctively, even, you know, outside of Torts' philosophy around blocking shots, most coaches want you to block shots. It's just an instinctive thing to do. If you're in a position and you see a guy shooting naturally, you're just going to get in the shooting lane and attempt to block a shot. That being said, there is some philosophies, especially on the PK, where the puck goes around the horn on the power play, and then they're trying to tee up Ovechkin or someone like that. Well, that might be an opportunity to let the goalie see that one and not get in the way. You know what I mean? Like, so there's some philosophy around that. But, you know, traditional 5-on-5, puck goes to the point, wingers go out. They're told and coached to front the shot. You know, whether that's good for the goalie or not. You know, but the goalie's job is to track the puck and try and find it. But everyone's trying to do their part and try and limit these scoring chances, limit pucks getting through to the net for secondary opportunities. So if you can get a piece of it and if it can deflect wide, you know, I think that's what every coach is looking for. So, instinctively you're trying to get in that shot lane as quickly as possible.
And the other thing, Bernie, a well-blocked shot is tremendous, can keep him off the score sheet. A poorly blocked shot, Ivan Provorov, somebody else goes down the wrong time, the wrong way, it can also lead to a goal pretty quickly. What's your theory on defensemen or forwards blocking shots in front of you?
Well, my philosophy was always, I'm the goaltender. I'm supposed to make the saves, and exactly how you guys explained earlier is the, if the defenseman, for example, blocks the shot like 100%, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with this. But most of the time, because the action is moving so fast today, the players are just getting to a point where they could stop the shot. And then, as a goalie, you're undecided if you should challenge or you're not sure what to do. And then it creates opportunities for the shooter to get a goal. So my approach was always, except when it was Bobby Hull, then you could stand in front.
There we are.
But my approach was always, let me do it. You guys worry about the players in front, the players on the side or whatever, defenseman, whoever is open or skate towards. Here's a prime example, okay? I'm going to share this very quickly. This is, I don't know if you people see that last year.
If you're not watching streaming here, you're not going to know what this means, but go ahead.
No, is you have a defenseman, okay?
Yep.
And we talked about this with Joe Watson quite a few times, and Joe was very smart about this. He would play the man, not the puck, but play the man. So if it was a left-hand shot, I knew that the shot would be going on my stick side.
Yep.
If it's a right-hand shot, I knew that the shot would go on the glove side. Those are things you have to work out with your defenseman instead of just going, down on the ice and try to save it, to block it, which is very, very important. And it's a positive approach that as a goalie, you're starting to think this way, and it helps you to be at the right place. And when you're at the right place at the right time, you make the save.
Yeah.
Riley, though, when you talk about that, I mean, one of our other co-hosts, Brad Marsh, one of the greatest in history at blocking shots. Listen, from my perspective, I think from anybody's perspective listening, I don't care who you are, I don't care how tough you are, how good a fighter you are, how whatever you are, it's something you have to decide in an eighth of a second. But when you go down to block a shot, you got to be thinking, if this hits me in the head, or there's strategies and ways to lay out and block it, it has to scare you on one level, maybe after the game, maybe not during the game, but it's got to scare the bejesus out of you to block a shot with vulcanized rubber coming at you 100 miles an hour. How do you get over that fear?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, it's not something that I really thought a whole lot about. It was just like part of the game. Again, I wasn't sliding all over the ice like Lappy was. I think, being selective with some of those slides to block shots is probably a little bit different conversation around just like if the puck goes out to the point and you're already in the shot lane, like kind of lining up with the puck, you know what I mean, and fronting the puck. So you're standing upright. You could maybe use your glove and cover your face if it ramps up your stick or something like that to protect your face a little bit. But other than that, you're not really.
For 1 second, do you think that shooters, everybody's different, obviously, but do shooters in the NHL respect the fact that if they hit in the head, it could be something? We hear about pitchers not going after guys' heads, pitching inside. Do shooters look like they may be avoiding your head, or are they just let fly and it's up to you?
Well, I think it's just up to you, but you have to understand that they have players at their net as well. So, no defenseman is shooting head high. And no one at the net, no one's going to stand at net front if they're shooting head high. So I think naturally, D-man are trying to shoot waist down. You know what I mean? Whether that happens or not comes off the stick, that's a different story. But I think they're coached to be shooting, shooting for sticks, or shooting, in a range where some, they're players that can actually get the puck. So I don't think they're just mindlessly shooting for heads. But that's why you see a lot of guys, if they're fronting a puck, it's more of they're having their stick out and the puck ramping off the stick that's going to hit them in the face. It's not the shot itself going directly at the face. But that's
you know what? I think also when you're talking about blocking the shot, for an example, it's if the play is moving fast, you know what
it's
I mean?
Always moving fast.
It's a reaction, a natural reaction.
Yep.
If the guy shoots, that you try to to help your team, your goalie, whatever,
Yep.
to win situation. But if it's a slow down situation, very seldom you see a defenseman
Yes.
try to make the save.
Yes.
Because you got to look around and because some players could be open.
Yes, exactly.
And you don't want to commit
Take yourself
too
out of the
early.
play. Exactly.
The
Yeah.
Flyers have a defenseman. You talk about a fast start, and depending on young guys, you need stars to win. Guy had a horrible year last year. He was terrific before that. Ivan Provorov looks to be playing a lot better this year. Looks like he believes in himself. A great shot blocker. What do you think, Bernie, about the play of Ivan Provorov, kind of being back to his old self, helping his D partner? And that's how a team gets good, by good players playing well and carrying it with them. What do you think about the renewed vigor of Ivan Provorov?
Well, I think when you see a situation like this, it's all about communication, defense. For example, you have to communicate with the forwards, like the goalie has to communicate with the defense, and vice versa. It's very important. So understanding what your team, what your players are going to do on the ice in some situations, so it helps you to anticipate to make the right move at the right time.
Yeah.
It's all about communication.
It always is, right?
And once you understand that, then because it's a fast game, and then your reaction is much better, it's faster, and it's a positive reaction that brings good results.
Yeah, and I will say, he really does connect well with D'Angelo, and I think before last year, where he really kind of had a year off, he had an inconsistent partner. I think before that he had Niskanen as a D partner that kind of bailed him out, or he was like that safety valve while he went up in the play and he did his thing. Niski was always there to kind of have his back. I feel like he's found that again with D'Angelo. I think they complement each other nicely, and I'll also mention the fact that he's not wearing an A. Maybe it's humbled him a little bit, where he's now maybe really being more of a leader while not wearing the A, and really kind of finding his groove and being a good communicator.
That's a great point you made, Riley, about Niskanen, because you would have thought Bobby Orr left the Flyers. It's up to a defenseman, up to anybody, to be on their own legs. He may have relied on Matt Niskanen. Now he's self-reliant on himself, and I think it's proven a lot. We're going to talk about Scott Lawton in the A after the break. Also, what Riley thinks about other sports. Had a pretty good month here in Philadelphia. Was Riley Cote paying attention to the Phillies, to the Union? We will find out from Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill when I join Bernie Perrant and Riley Cote for a final segment right after this. Stay with us, folks.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's Incredible Crab Specials Wednesdays this fall. 2 pounds of snow crab legs for $49.99, or 2 pounds of snow crab legs and 4 hard shells for $79.99. Thursdays is Chicky and Pete's Go Birds Wing Special. Whatever the Eagles score on Sunday, get that percentage off your wings on Thursday. Higher score, bigger discount. Plus, our fall specialty menu with the mouth-watering garlic truffle burger and B-Dog Impact Nachos. Enjoy a pumpkin shandy or a smoked apple cider margarita. Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer goaltending great Bernie Perrant.
All right, back here at Chickies and Pete's, final segment. We go 2 hours with Riley Cote, but going an hour and so many things to ask him. Never asked a guy this before in my life, although I've thought this constantly. Riley Cote was an enforcer on the ice, fought a lot, played hard, coached. We're not going to get a chance to get to your coaching, Riley, that much. But you see Stu Grimson, one of the all-time goons in the NHL. He's a lawyer now, great guy. So many people, Donald Brashear, many, many, many. Why does it seem to me, and there's obviously exceptions to this rule, but why are the goons or the physical guys, the fighters, whatever you want to call them, why do you guys seem to be the nicest guys in the world off the ice?
I think because a good portion of that job is like is selfless, right? I mean, you're fighting for a team. I mean, yes, there's a selfish element to it, but you're fighting for something greater than yourself. So I think naturally you have to be some bit of a good guy to do that, right? I mean, obviously the role is not for everybody. It's a challenging role physically, but I think guys look out for their buddies and their teammates. They got their back, and so I think it takes a special individual to do that.
Well, it takes a special individual to do that, or to throw out a pitch at a World Series game, a first pitch, with Mr. Perrant did Riley last week with the Flyers, Phillies, Sixers, and Eagles, all throwing one out. The whole World Series thing, the city was crazy. Just coming down from that, the Union in the championship game, the Eagles 8-0. We know about the other teams. How much of a 4-for-4 or 5-for-5 guy are you? How much you follow the other sports, and how much have you gotten into it here in Philly? Obviously, you live in the suburbs, but how big an all-around sports fan are you?
Well,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not a huge sports fan. I have gotten to Philly sports since playing for the Flyers, but got so many things going on. It's just hard to keep track of all the different sports and all the different games and stuff like that. I have a hard enough time with the Flyers, but I did go to Game 4 last week, which was they lost 5-0, but it was my first Phillies game all year. But it was amazing to be part of the momentum around Philly and that energy and participate in that. I definitely enjoyed myself, but I just don't have a whole lot of bandwidth to keep track of these other
but
sports teams.
But you're talking about this, and this was my first. I repeat, this was my first.
Was it your first?
The World Series game live.
That's great.
And to be on the field, be throwing the ball with, you have 48,000 people there,
Sounded like 348,000.
Yeah, right.
Amazing.
And with a few players, that we threw the ball the first, together, and then we walked by. As a matter of fact, we walked by their bench, the Phillies bench, to move on, and I got to meet Harper, and I got to meet the coach. It was fun. And
let me rephrase that, Bernie. Harper got to meet you, and Rob Thompson got to meet you.
Well,
you've been there, done that. They're trying to do that.
With Harper, it was funny. I said, "Touch the rings. It's a good luck charm." So he did, and the first at bat, he hit the home run.
Yeah, no way. Wow.
Yeah. But the coach, coach is good, and what they have. It reminds me when we played. We won the Stanley Cup. the family approach.
Yeah, right.
Like you're talking about, you protect each other, you work together, you're a team, you're a family, and you have fun. And when somebody does something good, you cheer for him, the whole team. And this is what the Phillies had. If you watch your players, there was great reaction, and that's why they did so well.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because families have fathers, mothers, and some have captains. And Riley and Bernie both. Riley mentioned that Ivan Provorov's not wearing the A this year. Maybe he's been humbled in some way by not wearing the A. He was never the C, obviously. But the Flyers only have one guy wearing an initial now, John Tortorella's first few months. He wants to see how guys react, how they are all in on the ice, whatever. Scotty Lawton, who we hope to get in a couple weeks to be on this show, is wearing the A. Riley, I know people who know hockey very well who think that the A and the C are completely meaningless, and I know people who think that the A and the C are everything to a team. Bernie, you had one of the great captains ever with the Broad Street Bullies and Bobby Clark. So each of you guys, if you could, we only got a few minutes left, how important is the A, is the C, and should the Flyers give Scott Lawton or anybody else the C? Will it change the team in any way?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's meaningless. Honestly, if guys are really buying in for the right reason, I mean, you can lead as a collective, right? And I think that's what you're seeing now. And you look on the Flyers injured reserve. You got Coots, who probably would be wearing the A or a C. Cam Atkinson, I know he's one of Torts' guys from Columbus, probably wearing an A or a C, right? So you got a couple. JVR, I'm not sure where if it fits in the mix there, but you got a few veteran guys that are on the shelf that are really high-end leaders, on this team. So that being said, you're seeing a team without those guys in the lineup finding ways to, generate some sort of leadership and as a collective. So you got, maybe Hayes stepping up. You got, Provy. Provy had the A. Maybe some of his comments towards the end of last year, maybe there was question marks around it. So now he's got to earn that back. But I think, as a collective, these guys are leading as a team together, and I think that's the most important thing. It's not about who's the A, who's the C. If you had 15 leaders, like the old Dallas Stars team, and some of these guys have won Stanley Cups. There's way more leaders on the team beyond the C and the A's.
All right, Bernie. Well, I told you, Craig Simpson once said to me, we only got a couple minutes left, so we got to make this quick. He said when he got traded from Pittsburgh to Edmonton, if he screwed up, Gretzky wore the C, but when he went in the locker room, he had to be careful of 11. Not 99, because Messier was the sheriff.
Right.
Would Bobby Clark have been different if he didn't wear a C than if he did? Was it a symbol, or did it mean something to you?
Yeah, Bob was born a leader. Was leadership quickly here. It really made a big difference. And what happened with Bob, what he brought in was, if you had a problem with some players or whatever, maybe one player, we closed the door, no coaches, just the players, and we went all the way around the room, and we shared how we felt about the situation. And that's how you stayed as a team. You respected each other. It was very, very important.
It's interesting that you shut the coach out. The players have to do some things themselves, guys, right?
100%. To me, that's the most meaningful meetings, is when the coaches are not in there, and there's not many leaders quite like Bobby Clark. You say Messier, and there's a few of them throughout history, right? They're like absolute captains on every team. Yeah, Yzerman. But the reality is there's probably less of those types of guys in this current day and age. But that being said, I think those closed-door meetings, when everyone's throwing it out there and you're being honest with your teammates, those are the most powerful meetings, not when you're getting your ass ripped by the coach. It's when your teammates are ripping you and keeping you accountable is the most potent stuff.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully the accountability can continue. The Flyers can continue in Columbus tomorrow night. John Tortorella returns to one of the scenes of his coaching. We've had a great time tonight. Riley Cote, you're an amazing guest. You're an amazing human being. I love having you. Got to make next year a must-see radio, if that makes sense now. Thanks so much for being here, Riley.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Always a
pleasure.
pleasure. Always a pleasure.
See you, my friend.
And to Bernard Marcel Perron, who some of you may know, thank you so much. Be here in 2 weeks with Frank the Animal Bialowas, Bernie.
Yes. Awesome. Look forward to it.
All right. This is Chris Hermer, has produced this program. Done a great job. Keith Noonan back at the station. A Giant fan, but nobody's perfect. He done a nice job as well. Thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. Here at Beautiful Chickens and Pete's, where the TVs are fired up. People are fired up, and we'll be back here next week with Joe Watson. I'm Paul Jolovitz for Bernie Perron, and Riley Cote for Independence Blue Cross is on the ice, saying have a great week, everybody, and go Flyers.
You've been
Right.
listening
Let's do
to
it.
On the
Yeah.
Ice, presented by Independence
Well done.
Blue
Rah,
Cross.
rah.
Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of 1490 WBCB and heard around the world at WBCB1490.com.